This is Game Set Match Kentucky, episode 19, recorded October 2nd, 2019, entitled Leg Cramps Hit Me Like a Freight Train. Hey everybody, it's time for episode 19 of Game Set Match Kentucky, where we talk about all things related to the Central Kentucky Tennis Series and maybe a whole lot more that you never asked for. Well, probably not today. Probably today we're going to pretty much get to the point, and there may not be a lot of the extra stuff. Who knows? This is Wednesday, October 2nd. I'm Chris Godby. I'm the chairman and one of the founders of the CKTS, where the lines are good and sandbagging is for golf. I'm here at the home office in Russell Springs, Kentucky. Back with me today from the outskirts of Bowling Green, Kentucky, is one of our tournament directors, as well as the tennis coach at South Warren High School, home of the Spartans. By day, he's the program director of Talk 104.1 FM and 930 AM radio in Bowling Green, where he hosts a morning drive time talk show. Chad Young, it is good to have you back, sir.
It's good to be back with you. It's good to be in the air conditioning, I'll put it that way.
Absolutely. It is still summer outside, full-blown summer. While the Northwest is getting pounded with snow, we're getting pounded with sun. Mm-hmm. Today on this episode of Game Set Match Kentucky, we're going to look back at the tournament that you just directed, Chad, the 2019 Bowling Green Open. We do have a Challenge the Call question, and we'll make a few announcements of things coming up in tennis around the area. Our sponsor this season is Vision Cabinet Source in Campbellsville, Kentucky. They are a kitchen and bath cabinet supplier. If you're building a home or renovating your home, check out Vision Cabinet Source. They can provide you with classic cabinet styles that are well built and affordable. They have a 17-step finishing process in making these cabinets. Check out their website at visioncabinet.com. I think you're going to be very impressed with the work that they do, and you'll agree that they do great work at an affordable price. Call them at 270-465-3222, and be sure you tell them that you heard about Vision Cabinet Source on Game Set Match Kentucky. Chad, other than the heat and other than the fact that you had to move your tournament months later to get it in, what's your overall impressions and reactions of this weekend?
You know, I tell you what, the thing that surprised me the most was that was maybe uncharted territory, was for us to have a tournament this late. Most of my tournaments have been June, July, sometimes August. So to have one this late in September, we were wondering, what kind of turnout we would have, because people are back to school and so on and so forth. There's so many things going on with high school athletics and vacations and so on and so forth. We didn't know, A, what kind of turnout we would have. B, we didn't know what the weather would be like, because, there have been a lot of Septembers that have been pretty cold. So will we need to worry about heat and ice and so on and so forth? Well, obviously the heat was still very much a factor at the end of September, and we had a great draw. So I was really pleased.
Yeah, I thought that you had a great draw as well. I was also surprised that we're having unseasonably warm weather. Your tournament was probably hotter than it would have been in early June, I'm sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was a concern we talked about a couple of months ago when we have to deal with rain, and you have to consider what you're going to do when you've got rain for your weekend. You can have it the following week. We felt like we were going to lose a lot of players because of some conflicts with some USTA stuff that was going on. That we felt that it was in our best interest to move it to September, and hopefully it wouldn't affect our turnout that much. We were a little down, but it was a very, very small amount.
Yeah, I agree, and I was impressed with the numbers. I always like to, no matter what point in the summer it is, I love coming to Bowling Green. I'm not blowing sunshine your way either. I mean, I really like it there, and it's one of my favorite cities in Kentucky, and I'm glad I got to visit. And I had a few hours off between my matches, and so I got to drive around a little bit, run some errands, do a little shopping, and I always enjoy doing that. And so looking forward to next year, you hopefully having a couple of good tournaments again.
Hope so.
Well, let's look at how things turned out for the players in the 2019 Bowling Green Open. If you'd like to start with boys 12 and under singles.
All right, boys 12 singles was a round robin, and Ben Hansen was the winner. He beat the other two competitors. He beat Jackson Donovan 6-0, 6-1, and Blake Hunley 6-0, 6-0.
Okay, you had quite a big draw in boys 15 and under singles. It looks like you had about 12 in that. And the winner is Jacob Juronic. Did I say that correctly?
I believe that is what I heard this weekend.
Okay. He defeats Jason Toll 6-4, 7-6.
In boys 18 singles, James Chen was the winner. He defeated Pierce Smith 6-1 and 6-3.
I was surprised to not see Dylan Dethridge in that draw.
Well, if you notice, Dylan Dethridge decided to play in the open singles and did pretty well for himself in his first foray into men's open singles.
Awesome. Well, we'll get to that result in just a moment. In girls 12 and under singles, it was Addison McFall defeating Chloe Dickens 6-love, 7-6.
In girls 15 singles, Arden Dethridge was the winner. She defeated Sammy Casado 6-0 and 6-1.
In men's B singles, we have Billy Edge. He's been champion of most of the men's B singles tournaments this summer. He defeated Mike Lindsay of Bowling Green 6-3, 7-5.
In girls 18 singles, Connor Gallagher was the winner in a third set tiebreaker over Ainsley Stovall 6-1, 4-6, and 10-8 in the tiebreak.
Good match. Men's C singles is a round robin, and the winner is Jamison Roberts of Columbia. The runner-up is Zachary Turner of Glasgow.
In men's open singles, Graham Howell was the winner. He defeated Jackson Grover 6-2 and 6-1.
Okay, and now I see where Dylan Dethridge did make it to the semifinals of that event in his first outing. So he won 2 rounds to get there. He didn't get a bye, so he's in the round of 16 and makes it over to the semifinals. Good showing by him.
Pretty impressive for a freshman in high school.
Men's 40 and over singles, we have Shabazz Munawar. I don't think we've seen him in a while. Good to have him back. He defeats Michael Woods of Bowling Green 6-1, 6-4.
In women's B singles, if you notice, we had both women's B singles and women's open singles make for this tournament. And it was Rima Desai defeating Amber Wolf 6-4 and 6-1.
Right, so here's the women's open singles result. Connor Gallagher defeated Chelsea Howell of Sand Gap, Kentucky 6-1, 6-3.
Boys 18 doubles, Jordan Cordray and Matthew Thomas were the winners, defeating Dylan Dethridge and James Chin 6-0 and 6-3.
And they have had an outstanding season.
They have. And they also played in the open doubles and did pretty well as well.
In girls 18 and under doubles, it was the team of Emmy Redford and Madeline Stevenson from the E-Town area defeating Sarah Juronic and Caitlin Ditto 6-3, 2-6, and 10-8 in the match tiebreaker.
It was a really competitive field because both our semifinals went to third set tiebreakers and our championship went to a third set tiebreaker as well.
Yeah, I see that.
Another third set tiebreaker in men's B doubles. It was Rick Cordova and Aaron Ritchie defeating Billy Edge and William Bill Flickinger 3-6, 7-6, and 15-13 in the tiebreaker.
Wow, 15-13. Mm-hmm. I think they were playing that match.
That was the late Saturday night match. Yeah.
When I left for the night at like 8:30 on Saturday night, they were still going strong. The men's open doubles division was also won by Cordray and Thomas, the winners of the boys 18 and under tournament at Bowling Green, and they defeated Brad Hales and Shabazz Munawar, both of Bowling Green, 6-4, 7-6.
Women's B doubles was a round robin, and Caitlin Berry and Emily Wilson defeated Cindy and Sarah Lanham 6-4, 6-3, and defeated Stephanie Gandy and Becky Stovall 6-2, 6-1.
Women's open doubles saw Cheryl Hensel and Trina Rickard repeat as doubles champions by defeating Jamie Roberts and Emily Wilson 1-6, 6-2, and 10-4 in the match tiebreaker.
Jamie Roberts partnered with Aaron Ritchie, and they were victorious in mixed B doubles, 6-4 and 6-2 over Troy Young and Amber Wolf.
Mixed open doubles was a round robin in which I participated, and I finished second place in that round robin with my longtime partner this season, Trina Rickard. We defeated Douglas and Hunley of Bowling Green 3-3, and then we lost in the final to Darren Polston and his daughter Kaylee Polston 6-4, 5-7, 10-8 in a late Saturday night finish. They also won their Sunday match to take the title over Douglas and Hunley.
And finally, mixed 18 doubles, it was Keegan Christensen and Sarah Juronic defeating Hallie Lindsay and Rana Patel 7-6 and 6-4.
Okay, and since this tournament is so freshly finished, we don't yet have current point standings, but by the next episode, we should have some point standings to announce for the end of the season. So what's coming up next for the CKTS is the awards ceremony that is on Sunday, November 3rd on the campus of Campbellsville University. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are an award winner of a division or a runner-up of a division, please plan to attend. We also give awards and recognition to those players that have participated in all 8 of our tournaments this summer. So November 3rd, the CKTS Awards Ceremony. Lake Cumberland Tennis Association still has their fall leagues happening until October 17th. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow as we record this. There's still 3 weeks left to play in that if you're interested. And there are still 2 tournaments happening this fall on the mountain tennis circuit. On October 19th and 20th in Berea, they have the Papalinos Open. And on October 26th and 27th, they have the Whitley County Open in Williamsburg, Kentucky. And you can see more about those tournaments at mtctennis.org. Courtesy of USTA Kentucky, they need volunteers to help with the Tri-Level Southern Sectional Championships on October 18th through the 20th in Louisville. There will be over 600 players in town from across the Southern section, and help is needed in many areas. So for this and other announcements about events coming up with USTA Kentucky, go to their website, USTAKY.com. KentuckyTennis.com will also get you there. At the top right corner of their front page, they have a link that says September newsletter, but it's full of October events as well, as they're planning ahead, obviously. So visit that page and see if there's an event coming up that suits you, because the leaves are about to turn, and hopefully the air is about to get cooler, but there's still a lot of tennis going on in October in lots of places in Kentucky. So to keep up with USTA Kentucky, visit their website or follow them on Twitter or like their Facebook page at USTA Kentucky. You can also send us your tennis events to info@gamesetmatchky.com. Chad, we have a challenge the call question.
All right.
What is the correct procedure to follow if there's an injury interruption during a live point?
Well, you know, the friend at court, which I hope most people are familiar with, is kind of the USTA rules and regulations. It covers just about every scenario. You know, the friend at court has an awful lot about, you know, injuries and how to handle it and changeovers. I don't know that it's specifically stated that an injury, but, you know, when you think about an injury that would happen on court, you'd be thinking about a hindrance. And so Section 26 or Rule 26 of the friend at court talks about a hindrance. And, you know, hindrance can be anything from something that is audibly yelled or something, you know, coming onto the court or, you know, something blowing onto the court. We had an interesting situation last weekend where there's a cornfield adjacent to the courts, and all of a sudden these you know, corn stalks started blowing on the court.
Yeah.
So, you know, what the friend of court says about hindrances.
Wait, was that at Greenwood?
That was at Greenwood. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't remember any corn growing at Kiriakis Park.
No.
So, okay, good.
The friend of court says if a player is hindered in playing the point by a deliberate act of the opponent, the player shall win the point. Now, an injury is not a deliberate act by your opponent.
Right.
But it says the point should be replayed if a player is hindered in playing the point by either an unintentional act of the opponent or something outside the player's own control, which that again could be considered, an injury. That's not something a player really can control, and it's not something that is a deliberate act. Now, it also says that you cannot be hindered by your own actions. So, I guess give us a little bit of background on what exactly happened.
Okay, so full disclosure, I wrote this question. I submitted this question myself because it's something that happened to me at your tournament on Saturday night. So I'm playing my mixed doubles match, and in the second set, both of my legs are starting to cramp. And I had already fallen on the court once. I tripped, I think. I was chasing a ball, and I just tripped. I lost some skin off both knees and on one of my hands. And so I already had that to deal with. I had already left the court to go get Band-Aids. My opponents were completely gracious about that. That was no problem to them at all. So we're deep into the second set. My legs are starting to cramp a little, and I jumped to hit a high overhead. And as I jumped, Cramps just hit me like a freight train in midair. And so I yell in midair loudly as I hit the ball. I didn't even know that the ball went in. They had to tell me later that, yes, it went in. So I'll get to that. So I yell as I hit the ball, and in my off-balance pain, I guess, I landed on my right ankle and rolled it to the inside. So I'm lying flat on my back, and I'm yelling in pain. And I'm more in pain over the cramps than I am the ankle, which turns out to be a sprain, not a fracture, thank goodness. But so they helped me stand up, and I'm like, okay, so what happened? Did I win the point? And they're like, well, we're just going to play a let. And I'm like, well, what happened? Was it in? And what did you do? And Kaylee, my opponent, said that I hit the ball back. And, as I fell, she just tapped it back in play, and then they stopped. So everyone stopped at that point. Mm-hmm. So they insisted on playing a let, which it was their right, I'm sure, to claim the point. Even though I go down, they completed the act of hitting the ball over successfully into the court, a ball that we did not play back. So in my opinion, they won the point. I tried to give them the point, but the Polstons are such nice people that they wanted to play a let. Of course, my partner Trina was trying to convince me to just stop playing because my ankle was already swelling. But I'm like, no, I didn't come here to not play. I came here to play. So we're going to play, and we're going to try to win this thing. So we end up losing by 2 points in the match tiebreaker. But anyway, so that's why I raised this question. What is really supposed to happen here? Because me yelling loudly during the point in pain is, some sort of a hindrance, although Sure. It's not an intentional hindrance. But, if I was on the other side of that net and I saw that happen, I would probably stop. I think my instinct would be just to stop. I don't know.
See, I think, I've seen this happen mainly on television, but I've even experienced myself. I've usually seen people finish the point. So you see somebody pull up lame, or I guess the yelling. If it's a yelling that would cause you to not be able to concentrate on the ball, you could call hindrance. But if you see somebody hurt, most of the time they're not in a life or death situation. So you just finish the point out, then you go over and see how they are. But I think they were well within their rights to call a hindrance because seeing somebody fall, and now I've also seen that. I've seen people get hurt, and people are so distracted that they miss what should be an easy, wide open shot.
Right.
So I probably a hindrance is probably the best thing to do in that situation when you see somebody get hurt, and they're obviously not going to be able to finish the point, to go ahead and just replay the point after you make sure the person's okay.
It's a good thing that we were all friends, and it was kind of them to replay the point. It's hard to know exactly what to do in that kind of situation, so I'm not sure if we've answered that question clearly, but I don't know. What do you think?
It's one of those things where I mean, it's a gray area, so I think the best thing to always do, if someone's not intentionally trying to affect the point, I think playing a lead is always the right thing to do. Even if the letter of the law is not the most clear, I think replaying a point is the thing to do in the name of sportsmanship.
Well, there you go. If you have a challenge the call question, email it to us at challenge@gamesetmatchky.com. Good stuff. That's going to just about serve out this episode of Game Set Match Kentucky, and I appreciate everyone for listening. You can subscribe to this with any podcast app on your smartphone. You can also give us a review right there in your podcast app on iTunes or any podcast app. You can also give us a 5-star rating. Visit GameSetMatchKY.com for all of our episodes and show notes and links and more. You can also follow us on Twitter at GameSetMatchKY and like our Facebook page. Look for Game Set Match Kentucky, the podcast. LakeNet Media provides our web hosting. If you need a dependable web host, you can reach out at 757-525-3638. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Vision Cabinet Source. There we go, Chad. Here it comes. Hawkeye says we are out.
It's a close one.
I know it's always close, but it's always out. So until next time, I'm Chris Godby with Chad Young. Thank you, Chad, for being on with me again today.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you having me.
This has been Game Set Match Kentucky.
Where is Sand Gap, Kentucky?
If you hadn't asked me, no, I don't know. Let me look it up. Sand Gap is in the Daniel Boone National Forest. It is southeast of Berea.
Okay. All right. We were curious about where Sand Gap, Kentucky was.
It is sandwiched on the east and west by a location called Winetta. And another one called Clover Bottom.
All right. I'm not familiar with either of those either.